Hello and welcome to a brand new installment of a Nintendo News Report for Friday, November 16th, 2018. Happy Pokemon Let's Go Day. I'm your host, Donald Terriel, and I'm kind of I should be on the disabled list with a bruised rib. And hang on, let me pause the stream so I don't get my own echo there. Joining me tonight for what should be a pretty brisk news report is Justin Brube. Hello, Justin.
Hello, Donald, and everyone listening.
Hello, hello, America and Nintendo fans in Canada and Newfoundland. Yes, so you for once I'm the one with all the what we've been playing here because the main thing that I've been playing is something that opened up earlier today, Pokemon Let's Go. I got the Eevee version, and I don't know. I knew the job was going to be dangerous when I took it. I knew that this was going to be different than a typical Pokemon game, but I would expect that after beating all of the trainers in Viridian Forest that I would have a Pokemon at level 10. And that didn't end up happening. Because the biggest takeaway I've got from Let's Go so far is that they have wildly broken the formula for experience between what trainers give you and what you get from just catching Pokemon.
So, do you get more experience from catching now?
You get more. You basically get the equivalent of what you would get for a trainer from catching the Pokemon with some variance depending on if you can actually get like an excellent throw or a great throw, or if you catch it on the first try. And they start you with 50 Pokeballs, so you got plenty of time to practice. But like the trainer experience seems way less than usual. Like I just when I put it down for a while, I was I just come off doing Route 25, and like I had gotten Bulbasaur and Charmander at that point, and normally they'd be at like level 17, 18, they'd be evolved by now, but no, they're still like level 14. Charmander started there. And
Yeah, I didn't get the game yet because unfortunately the weather was bad in my state yesterday and it delayed my delivery. So,
yeah, and I
maybe
got
tomorrow.
yeah, and I got mine. Like I got mine. I preloaded mine for the extra gold coins, which I still haven't received actually. But yeah, I think I got that same storm today up here. Yeah, but yeah, the aside from that, I mean, the game looks great. Little cool touches like high-fiving Eevee after he beats a gym, which he has so far beaten Brock and Misty single-handedly. Because
Sounds good.
yeah, although part of that is because I've plowed all of the candy I got into him, and also the fact that there's a move tutor in the Cerulean Pokemon Center who taught Eevee an electric move, which he proceeded to paralyze Misty Starmie with, which I was really afraid of going in because that thing has traditionally been a bear. And she gives the Scald TM now, which that could have caused some serious problems if she'd been able to get it off.
No, I'm looking forward to playing it. I like some of the changes that other people might not like. Uh, like I'm very excited to see no more random battles. I've never been a fan of random battles.
Yeah, although they do like there are times when things will pop up out of nowhere,
Okay.
but the fact that you have the sprite on the screen there shows that yeah, um there's going to be like you sort of have an idea of what you're getting.
Oh yeah, that helps a lot. I feel
Yeah,
like because sometimes you're like, well, I don't want to fight a millionth one of these, and
yeah,
you
you
try
can
to avoid them.
yeah you can run away from the Kakuna, or you can go up and fight it if you want.
And almost,
Although although I do miss the ability to get experience off the wild Pokemon without catching them, because
yeah,
yeah, and I originally my plan was to not see if I could go through the game without catching anything. That got shot down like 30 seconds in. You have to catch the Eevee or the Pikachu, and it just snowballs from there. So,
yeah,
but
that might be all right for me because there's been times I've barely caught any Pokemon and just blasted through the games.
Yeah, like
So
the
it makes me actually catch Pokemon.
yeah, and the usual checks for like Pokemon happiness that they use for the starters so far have now been replaced with you have to, oh, you caught this many Pokemon. Here, take this Bulbasaur. Or here, take this Charmander. So yeah, there's definitely a reason to go through with that, especially if you're going to go on catch a few chains because you can actually use that to trigger shiny encounters as
Cool.
you the more you chain, the better odds you have of actually catching something that's shiny.
And also, like, I'm pretty sure I read this. They got rid of held items.
Yeah, they got rid of held items. I'm really curious how they're going to do Mega Evolution because they've talked about that being in the game.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
I hope there's a way to do that, but I've never been a fan of all those items. I think it just overcomplicates an already complicated game.
Yeah, and I've heard some people saying that that because of the candy system replacing the effort values that they've used for like 15 years now,
Hmm.
that like it's gonna there's like a lot of the competitive focus on this, like the high end stuff is probably going to go back to stick with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon for now, and then go on to the Generation 8 games next year.
Probably, but I mean, I love Gen Run 1 competitive Pokemon because you know who the number one Pokemon is.
Yeah. Yeah,
My favorite.
and when you and when he got quickly banned to anything goes, and then it just became a bunch of speed checks. Like who gets the most crits wins.
Well, back in my day, I had six Mewtwo in red, blue, yellow, and I never finished this, but I was like setting up with all different move sets to combat different things, and
Yeah.
yeah, that was fun times.
Yeah.
I think I went undefeated with that team.
What a shock. The most broken Pokemon in the history of the game, and you went undefeated with it. I can't say I'm surprised in the least. Although I think my favorite thing to do with Mewtwo in Generation 1 was take the completely max statted Mewtwo that was the boss of Stadium 1 and one-on-one him with a Jolteon. Just focus energy, and Jolteon would usually win the speed tie, so just keep Thunderbolting him and wait for him to drop.
Nice.
Yeah. A couple of other things that I've been playing here. The SNK 40th Anniversary Collection, of course, also came out this week, so I put a little bit of time into Crystalis, and that game, I'm sure the controls made sense in context back in the NES, but the way they're mapped now, I really need to figure out a system that they actually make sense because I've lost a significant bit of progress in that game. Like I had explored most of a dungeon, I got one of the power-ups for my sword, and then got poisoned by something because poison is blatantly overpowered in that game unless you bring antidote herbs, and died. And when I did, I got sent all the way back to the old, like to before I'd even entered that dungeon for the first time.
Yeah, I've never played, but I did order the other day. I ordered a copy of the SNK 40th.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some interesting looking games on there, although there is a pretty there I mean there is a preponderance of the shooters on there. Like you have arcade NES versions of like the entire Akari series, all three games of it. But yeah, I mostly focused on Chrysalis, though I did try I'm trying to remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it's the fighting game that is sort of it was sort of an in between Street Fighter game, like in between the Street Fighter 1 and 2. So it's a really awkward fighting game. Like
Interesting.
you have a there's a live system in that game. You get lives at when you reach certain point milestones.
Kind of like Urban Champion, the arcade version. Anyway.
Well, not yeah, except instead of like 100, instead of just like the 100 stamina, you have like actual bars of stamina that are going across the screen. Kind of weird, but yeah, I should probably dig back into that, but I think Pokemon's probably going to take up most of my weekend here. Probably
Well,
not too
enjoy.
much of it. Probably won't take up too much of it though. The other thing that I gave a try to is I'm a really big fan of You Don't Know Jack. Like I love it, and I grabbed the new Jackbox Party Pack specifically because it had You Don't Know Jack in it. I think they need to like the party packs are fun, but I don't think You Don't Know Jack works in the Jackbox format. Like in this modern one where it's all focused on being on the cell phone or
Hmm.
on another screen because like the framing device is that it's been picked up by a streaming service. So the main reason I like one of the main reasons I play those games is for the host banter, and that gets really cut down when after he explains the question, they're doing this fake, oh, here's some recommended videos before they move to the next question. And they also really messed up the Jack attack because basically there's more like they'll give you six different choices for the category, and then you have to pick out which ones are right. So there's more than one right answer, and it's all timing based.
Okay.
So I'm sure it would be fun with more people, but yeah, I'm the one who takes all the abuse and plays those games single player. So yeah, it doesn't really work out all that well. But yeah, that's all pretty much all I've been playing as of late here. And Justin, I know you started a new job, and
Yeah, yeah. So I haven't had too much time to play. I've been busy working and getting used to my new schedule. But yeah, it's all right. I mean, I am looking forward to getting Pokemon. I'll have some days off next week, so hopefully I can get through those.
yeah, yeah, I think you're going to enjoy Let's Go way more than I seemingly am.
I think I am too, just because I love Gen 1 and uh, I like some of the changes. Though I would probably enjoy some kind of like middle ground between the two different Pokemon series, if we want to call them that at this point.
Yeah, between your mainline games with all the hardcore elements, and then Let's Go with this radically simplified version of the game.
Yeah, I want something like right in the middle. I want
Yeah.
to see what that would be like.
Oh, well, who knows what the Gen 8 game is going to look like. I mean, if this does well enough, I wonder if they have time to course correct anything that's popular and put that in the game. But yeah, main thing I'm looking forward to with the Gen 8 games is just the ability to actually see Meltan.
But is that going to be a Gen 7 or Gen 8 Pokemon?
It sounds like it's gonna be Gen 7, but you'll be able like I'm assuming there's like they've distributed all of the legendaries at this point this year, so I'm sure at some point they'll have a Meltan giveaway.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing I should mention about Let's Go, um, didn't get off to a good start with me because it had told me to press a button on the controller I wanted to use, and I'm jamming A on the Pro controller, and nothing is happening because the control options are Pokeball Plus, single Joy-Con, or play it in handheld mode.
Great.
So I only played it in handheld mode so far.
That console Pokemon.
Yeah, because apparently I'm doing it wrong. Yeah, and in the chat room, they're asking, Dale's asking about Alex and the Alaska, and I'm guessing that's Zach. Zach he got roped into a lecture tonight, so he's not going to be available. And Alex had to take some medical leave, basically. We're hoping to get him back here at some point down the road. And yeah, Levin, it's really lame that I couldn't use the Pro controller for this. Like the way I was intending to play it, like there would be no reason to need the motion controls, which is the whole point of me using the Pro controller to begin with.
But that does have motion controls, so
Yeah. All right. But the big news of the week here wasn't really a Nintendo story per se, but it's going to have some pretty severe ramifications next year. The ESA, the trade group for the game industry, they're the ones who run E3 as well, and they put out a press release yesterday with here's all the companies that are coming to E3 next year. You've got Microsoft, you've got Nintendo, you've got Activision, you've got Warner Brothers. Noticeable by their absence from that press release was Sony. And Sony later confirmed that no, they are not going to E3 next year. And this is not the, oh, Nintendo's skipping E3 because they're not having a live dog and pony show on stage at some point. No, Sony's not even going to have a booth. So all of a sudden, a whole bunch of floor space just opened up on the E3 plans for 2019
Yeah,
with,
a huge piece of space that's normally taken up right next to Nintendo's booth.
yeah. So Sony has said that they're going to be doing their own things next year, although they had already canceled like any plans for a PlayStation experience this year because they admitted that after Spider-Man and God of War came out, they didn't really have a lot that they haven't already shown to death. And well, if you're worried about missing out on the latest on the Kojima walking simulator, well, you just have to watch the Keeleys in a couple of weeks. You'll get plenty of that. So with that, yeah, and Sony seemingly passing on every trade show, which pretty much suggests for them that the PS5 is going to be 2020. But does this mean now that Nintendo sort of has to go even bigger with E3 next year because now they've got all this open floor space that wasn't theirs to use this year, and I don't know, the Nintendo booth might be navigatable next year.
I don't know. I don't think Nintendo is going to increase their booth size. Maybe a little, but like I don't think it's going to be anything drastic. They've normally stuck to the same game plan, and unless the floor space becomes cheaper because of that, I
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
think they're going to expand their booth. So it really comes down to what the price of the more square footage would be, and if it's going to be like a deal for Nintendo, maybe they'll like increase their booth size, but if not, yeah, I don't think they're going to do it.
yeah, but do
Else,
they yeah,
yeah,
do
go
they
ahead.
bring like more games next year? Like, are they going to have, like, maybe they do their own little streaming thing, or hell, maybe they do all the tournaments in there.
Uh, Maybe they could do something like that, but like I said, I think it goes back to the price of the floor space because they've done some of their tournaments on the E3 show floor a couple years ago. I think they did like arms and something like that.
Arms and Pokken, I think they did last year. Yeah.
Yeah, or whenever they did that, it was yeah. I don't know. I didn't like that. I haven't been to E3 in a couple years because a couple years ago it was only Breath of the Wild, and I figured this wasn't worth spending the money it would take me to spend to go out there to see one game.
Yeah,
And
I think once, because I was actually going to go to E3 in 2016 as well, the Breath of the Wild year, and as soon as Nintendo announced, oh, we're going to have one game in the booth this year, it's like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to fly across the continent.
yeah, that happened, and then ever since E3 opened to the public, I haven't wanted to go back because it was already too crowded.
Yeah,
Uh, Also, with more public people being there, it makes it harder to get work done. I remember one of the reasons E3 had a huge change in format was because a lot of people that probably shouldn't have been going to E3, myself included at the time, were sneaking into E3.
Hmm.
And yeah, that was just something that was happening probably in mass. But going back to the whole Sony booth thing, uh, it might actually make foot traffic in Nintendo's booth worse because they're going to be one of the larger companies there with one of the larger booths. So without that whole other like, look at Sony, look at we're here at the PlayStation stuff and all of our lineup. Without that there, I feel like that might actually get more people to go to Nintendo's booth, which
Hmm.
would actually congest it further.
Yeah, and maybe they don't have the space to accommodate an even bigger crowd than what they would get. Although, I mean, last year they were pretty like the way they handled it last year, like you had to make appointments, even if you were a member of the public to go play Smash Brothers, for instance.
Yeah, which is insanity to me. Like that is not the E3 experience I want.
Yeah.
It's I just feel bad for anybody who actually travels out to E3 who like doesn't know what they're getting into because at this point it just seems like it's going to be a lot of lines and a lot of nonsense like that, but like you want to go and like try stuff and have a good time, and I just don't think that's possible anymore with it being open to the public. And I know like a lot of people are like, oh, I've always wanted to go to E3, but like the E3 you're going to now is not the E3 you knew. or
Mm,
heard about, I guess.
yeah, because
And it's already
like
had a different change since like 2006 was like the
yeah,
last year before
yeah,
like it was like mega E3.
like ironically the last time Sony pulled out of E3 was after 2006. The year of giant enemy crabs, $599 in Ridge Racer.
Yeah, the
Whereas
2 years after that, 2007, 2008,
yeah, but
were like very different
yeah,
E3s and
two,
scaled back severely.
2007 was the airplane hangar and hotel suite E3, and '08 like they crammed everything into way smaller space than the LA Convention Center. And then it sort of went back to normal size in '09, and
In
just
08, I think also had E for All for like
yeah,
its
the
members.
the failed attempt to have an E3 that was open to the public as they did in what, October. Yeah, so because here's the thing, I'm actually considering going to E3 this year, and now that Sony has pulled out, I'm sure there's a very large contingent of people who were going to E3 mainly to do the Sony stuff, and now that that's off the table, I'm hoping maybe it'll be a little bit less congested in there this year.
Maybe. I just think E3 is a show is shooting itself in the foot. I mean, other names have pulled out of E3 before. I think Blizzard has been out for many years now, but they kind of do
Blizzard
their own
rocks.
show.
Yeah, like
And
Blizzard has BlizzCon, Rockstar, well, they theoretically get on conference stages, but they don't have a presence. EA has their own thing that's over before E3 even starts. And
yeah,
heck, even Microsoft, they last year their booth was literally like for their streaming service.
yeah.
You could
So
you could
I don't
play game.
understand what E3 is going to become. Uh, I think it was a great show in the past to like have all these companies come together and have like a huge event to like show this stuff off. It's a great place to just like meet people, hang out with people, and also get work done for like the site, which I've been doing for many, many years now.
Yeah,
And without E3, like, yeah, I do feel like there's a bit of an emptiness there because there's nothing that can really replace that when you get like all these developers in one place and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I do miss going, and I don't think this is a good sign for the future of the show.
Mm.
But as far as Nintendo goes, I would like to see them do their own type of thing, like BlizzCon, but like Nintendo.
BlizzCon,
Yeah,
Space World, bring that back.
yeah, bring that to America and have like a giant show with
But
Nintendos and Indies and like all sorts of like tournaments and stuff like that.
where do they have where do they have the New York Comic Con every year? Is
Uh,
that MSG or
I think that's the Javits Center.
okay? Yeah, because if they could book something like that for a week, like something that would hold Comic Con, New York Comic Con for a weekend, like that would probably be good, like a good public facing Space World replacement if it ever came to it. But I think because Nintendo's already come out and said, yeah, we're going to be, we're looking forward to presenting, like, to coming out bigger than ever at E3 in 2019. So next year, like this year, we were already pretty stretched at the show. I remember James was there and he was like saying, we need more people. Like we literally need more people to get in here and do stuff. So that's part of the reason why I'm planning on going next year to be on the away team.
Well, I wish you luck. I do not see myself going.
Yeah. And and I guess the other part with Sony pulling out there is there's a certain class of third party title that suddenly I, I wonder if they're approaching Nintendo now saying, "Hey, can you get us into the direct? Like we want to show this game in the direct because we think it would be a good fit." And it's probably coming to PS4 at some point, but you're probably going to see a lot more third party stuff next year in the direct, I'd have to say, or whatever they do before E3.
Probably.
And somewhere Phil Spencer is Phil. I had this mental vision of Phil Spencer doing cartwheels in his office once word came out that yeah, Sony's pulling out because now Microsoft gets all of the third party stuff for the HD system for the I guess the 4K twins next year.
Did
That
Sony say they
price.
weren't going to have like some direct type thing of their own?
Sony said they were going to do like they're going to interact with fans in their own way. They
Okay.
weren't specific about when that was, and I mean, there's a pretty good chance that they just go radio silent in June.
I don't know. They might just do some like direct thing, or
Yeah,
I don't know.
but it probably saves them a ton of money because like they were
Oh, without
renting
a
out
doubt.
movie theaters every year for like the last five to show their E3 stuff and giving away a ton of swag at those things. So that's going to save them a bunch of money, which they can probably plow back into the PS5.
Yeah. And just in case you're like, I want to go to E3 for the swag. Swag has died down at E3 over the years. It's not been as good as it used to be in the glory days when people were just like throwing things at you. You could like, I remember one year Nintendo had a station. They companies used to give out these huge bags just to carry the stuff because they knew you were going to get it. They
Yeah.
wanted their logo on it. And then Nintendo one year, I'm going to guess this was 2003, had a station for a WarioWare where you could weigh your swag.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have more on E3 as it sadly approaches, and well, 2019 will be a very interesting year for that show.
Oh,
But
and there was a shirt, I think, a WarioWare shirt that said, I've got more swag than you, with Wario's face. So, yeah.
yeah. All right. In other news about overpriced boondoggles, the IMAX remake of the 2018 3DS game Detective Pikachu got a trailer this week, coming out in theaters on May 11th, and actually exists. And oh my God, Pikachu is actually fuzzy, and
Yeah,
so is Jigglypuff.
looks interesting, and I hope we get to see some Mewtwo.
If I remember the storyline of the 3DS game properly, there should be a Mewtwo at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nintendo advertised that on Twitter and for the game a long time ago, so I didn't get to play through it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they re-released that game for Switch
Yeah, that
in
was
time, sort of in time with the movie, because I'd rather play it on Switch.
yes, I think so. So would I. Although I mean, I enjoyed what I played of it on 3DS, but I don't know. I think it would. Yeah, I think we're probably going to see a reissue of that, or it gets a price drop or something. Maybe not right as the movie's coming up, but maybe a week or so later. Try and ride whatever attention it's going to get because May 11th, I think it's coming out like the week after an Avengers movie. So it's probably so I don't know how well it's going to do as a result of that.
Hmm.
And I mean, it might do well overseas, but I don't know how, like, I don't think China is going to be an option for it, which is where most of the money is made nowadays in major Hollywood films. So, but hey, we got Deadpool playing Pikachu, so it'll be interesting. But I'm honestly, though, I've seen four movies in theaters in the last 8.5 years, and I think I've paid for one of them, and I don't see this being number five. It's more of like it's nothing against. I'm sure this movie is going to turn out okay, probably pretty good for a video game movie, but just the movie going experience is so toxic to me at this point that I'm probably just going to wait for it to hit home video or Netflix or whatever.
No, I'll probably go see it in the theaters.
Yeah.
They'll get you somehow. They'll be like, go to the movies to get like a legendary Pokemon.
That wouldn't surprise me.
So
Although,
they're gonna
I'll,
get you.
watch, they'll put the legendary, like the first mythical Pokemon for Gen 8 in a mystery gift that comes with the Blu-ray for the Detective Pikachu movie.
Yeah, or they could do something. I don't know. They could do a lot of things, like just have like rare Pokemon start spawning at theaters and Pokemon Go, and uh, I don't know what they or give you like an amiibo card when you go see the movie. for Detective Pikachu amiibo card
Yeah.
while supplies last.
Cherry Goblin, Detective Pikachu could be the best video game movie ever. Yeah, that is a very low bar.
Nah, I think the Professor Layton movie was really good.
I think he means live action, and
Okay.
really the only thing in that category would be like Mortal Kombat, the original, and maybe the Warcraft movie, which is done ironically by the same production company that did Detective Pikachu, but
We
we'll
need a
see.
Donkey Kong Country movie, live action.
Yeah, yeah. Sylvester Wallace, why is it toxic to go to the movie theaters? Because the ticket alone, unless I go on a Tuesday, which wouldn't be an option given my current work schedule, is $15 alone, and then
Canadian.
snap Canadian, and then you know, getting anything at the movie theater is
Whoa, whoa. If you even consider getting something in the movie theater, you're doing it wrong. You got to go to like a store beforehand, stuff your pockets, and like whatever. I'm going to just tell you, I do it every time. I'm never
yeah,
paying for snacks at
the
the movie.
the pro yeah the problem is like most of the snacks that I can easily sneak into a movie theater, I'm diabetic.
Okay.
I shouldn't be eating them. So yeah, they've pretty much got me by the short hairs at that point. That and the movie theaters for me are 35-minute bus ride away. So
Ouch.
it's not like I have a multiplex down the block from me. So just combination of circumstances. But yeah, I've like the last movie I saw in theaters was Ghostbusters 2016. Good movie, but yeah, not really an experience I want to recreate.
I don't agree with that, but everyone can have their own opinion on that
Yeah.
movie, and we're not going to
Yeah,
vote.
and Detective Pikachu doesn't seem like the kind of movie that would use D-Box. All right. But yeah. So other news, the Gradius and NES Open. So the NES games for this month came out this week. We talked about that last week on the show, but there was one game for everybody as with the special save as we got Gradius with every weapon and starting at level 5. So if you really want to cheapen the game, you can jump in with that. And then the Japanese version of NES Open Tournament Golf, they got all the courses unlocked from the start. And my I was confused initially at this, but Justin, you explained it that the Japanese version is different than what we got in North America and the rest of the world.
Yeah, I didn't know this until about a year ago when I tried I think the Famicom Mini that I got from Japan, and I'm like, I love NES Open. Let's give it a shot here. And I think to start out, you only have the Japan course unlocked, but when you play the American version of NES Open, or I should probably say the Western version, uh, all the courses I think are unlocked from the start,
Oh, okay.
unless there's some I don't know about. But yeah, I know there's like United States, Japan, maybe like one or two other courses.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like really disappointed because I'm like, wait, where are the other courses? Only one, and then I'm just thinking maybe you have to unlock them.
Yeah. Because I remember reading somewhere they you had to shoot a certain score on different courses to unlock the other ones.
Yeah, that could be frustrating in that game.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that game a lot, but like it is challenging.
Yeah. I have to say though, I'm kind of surprised that they did Gradius. Like
Yeah,
I figured I figured at some point they'd do Mario 3 with like, here, start with a couple of Juggum's Clouds and a few P-Wings. But no, we give you Gradius and you skip two-thirds of the game.
yeah. I think the special idea is neat, but I'd rather them use it to uh, improve games, kind of like they did with NES Open, rather than to just let people cheat the game all the time.
And Livinate asking if that was the golf game that was hidden in early versions of the Switch firmware. I believe that was the original Famicom Golf, which was like what, 84, 85?
Yeah, it was not. NES Open was made in the early 90s, I think like 91. And the thing about that is Iwata, I know, worked on that game. So
Yeah. So that's why I got
for
it.
sure.
Yeah, the original NES Golf is the one that you could do the direct gesture and unlock that on early versions of the Switch firmware. It's a shame they haven't re-enabled that actually.
I was thinking what I also worked on the
Oh, on NES
NES
Open.
Open. Yeah, I know that
Oh,
for a
okay.
fact.
All right. Yeah, he has hands in way more games than we realize.
I mean, an NES Open, I think, is a pretty impressive NES game.
Yeah, I never really got into it, but I think the like I have trouble with golf games in general, except for like Links on the PC.
Yeah, I mean, just compare like how far golf games came on the NES from like '84 or whatever to like maybe '83, whatever year golf came out. I don't know off the top of my head. To I think it was around '91. I'd have to look it up, but it was like definitely the '90s. I think for NES Open,
Yeah,
it came a long way. So let's
yeah.
see. NES Open was '91, and the original golf. Find it here. It was '84. Yeah.
Okay, 84. Yeah, stand corrected in the chat room there.
Yep.
Yeah. So there you go, and so we can probably expect the next round of NES games and probably the next cheat option in the second. Seems like the second Wednesday of the month. So I guess it'd be what, December 12th for the next round.
We won't know anyway. We'll be playing Smash Brothers.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, and one final quick story here that's probably more for the people than the people watching the show right now, honestly. The entire Five Nights at Freddy's series released to this point, 5 games in total, is coming to Switch and other platforms. No release dates. Obviously, the developer just mentioned it in a post on the Steam community page for another game he's working on. But yeah, it seems like there was some issues with porting those games to consoles, but apparently those have been resolved. So now we're going to be able to really get our scream on.
Yeah, too bad there aren't going to be more Smash characters, right?
Yeah. There is the DLC.
But
Never.
it's already been determined.
Yeah, but Five Nights at Freddy's is probably popular enough that Nintendo would be like, "Hey, Sakurai, you know, reserve one of those slots for a Five Nights at Freddy's character." I'm not saying they're going to do that. Like, the chances of that happening are incredibly remote, but I'm saying there's a chance. Because we all know that the Smash DLC decisions are made by the marketing department.
I don't know that for sure, but maybe.
Probably, like I said, we can pretty much Sharpie in
Or did
Edelgard.
Sakurai just like deflect that to the Nintendo marketing? So people aren't like, ooh, Sakurai, why didn't you pick my character?
Yeah, I hope after the last character comes out, he literally posts the "never asked me for anything again" image on his Twitter and just ghosts.
Well, the final
Take-
character could be a troll, like one of those old toys, because there is a Trolls game on NES.
that would be the best way to go out, I think.
Yep.
All right, but yeah, that'll do it for this week. We'll probably be back a little bit earlier next week, just because I know I've got some family coming into town. But yes, if you want to support the site that supports us, patreon.com/NWR. You can donate a few bucks, get early access to articles, and early access to the audio version of this here show. You can also go to the mothership NintendoWorldReport.com. We have all kinds of reviews. We've got a video up on there, also on this here YouTube channel that goes over John Raren's impressions of the first few hours of Pokemon Let's Go. That came up today. And if you want to follow us individually on the socials, Justin is at King Nintendo Fan on Twitter and King Nintendo Fanboy on Instagram. And I'm at NWR Donald. And that is our show. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Later.
Bye.